one glance, one secret, one lie that set her world ablaze. Sarah thought she knew Daniel, the man who swore she was his forever. But one sleepless night, a glowing phone screen revealed a truth that tore her apart. A stranger's name, a hidden betrayal, a wound that cut deeper than the first asterisk. How do you survive when the one you love stabs you in the heart not once, but twice? Do you crumble? Do you forgive? Or do you rise with a spark of fury and craft a revenge so daring it shakes everyone? Sarah chose to fight not with tears, but with a plan that would leave Daniel speechless. Sarah was 30 when Daniel swept her off her feet. His warm eyes, his effortless charm, it felt like fate. They met at a friend's party, laughing under fairy lights, dreaming of a future together. "You're my everything," he'd whisper, and Sarah's heart believed every word. A whirlwind romance led to a proposal, then a quiet wedding where Sarah glowed in a simple white dress. She thought she'd found her safe haven, but havens can hide storms. A year into their marriage, a message on Daniel's tablet shattered her trust. "Can't wait to see you again, Emily," it read. Months of secrets spilled out. Devastated, Sarah confronted him. He swore it was a mistake, begged for a second chance. And Sarah, clinging to hope, forgave him. 2 years later, she believed they were whole again. But one late-night call would unravel everything. Daniel wasn't just betraying her again, he was planning to walk away, thinking she'd never know. But Sarah saw it all. And this time, her pain turned to power. What secret pushed Sarah to the edge? How did she plan to... She thought she knew him. The man she loved, the man she trusted with her heart, her future, her everything. But one late night, in the quiet glow of her phone screen, Sarah stumbled across a secret so devastating it would shatter her world. A single message. A name she didn't recognize. A truth she could never unsee. What do you do when the person you vowed to spend your life with betrays you not once, but twice? How do you pick up the pieces when the one you trusted most rips your heart apart again? For Sarah, the answer wasn't tears or surrender. It was something far more powerful, revenge. A plan so bold, so unexpected, it left him speechless and everyone else in awe. This is the story of a woman scorned, a heartbroken, and a comeback that changed everything. But before we dive into the fire of Sarah's revenge, let's go back to where it all began. A love story that seemed perfect, until it wasn't. Music swells, then softens. Sarah was 28 when she met Daniel. He was charming, with a smile that could light up a room, and a laugh that made her feel like she was the only person in the world. They met at a friend's wedding, of all places, a night filled with romance, laughter, and promises of forever. Daniel was the kind of man who knew exactly what to say. "You're my home," he'd whispered to her, his eyes locked on hers. And Sarah believed him. Why wouldn't she? He was her dream come true. They dated for 2 years, each moment feeling like a page from a fairy tale. Weekend trips to the coast, late-night talks about their future, and a proposal that left Sarah breathless. Daniel got down on one knee under a sky full of stars, promising her a life of love and loyalty. "I'll never let you down," he said. And she believed him. They married in a small, intimate ceremony, surrounded by family and friends. Sarah wore a simple white dress, her heart full of hope. She thought she'd found her forever. But forever, as Sarah would soon learn, was a promise Daniel couldn't keep. The first betrayal came just a year into their marriage. Sarah was working late at her job as a graphic designer, pouring her heart into a big project. Daniel, a marketing manager, was often out for client dinners or late meetings. She trusted him implicitly, never questioning his long hours or the occasional unanswered texts. But one evening, as she sat alone in their quiet apartment, A notification popped up on Daniel's tablet. Left carelessly on the kitchen counter, asterisk, it was a message from someone named Emily. A single line that stopped Sarah's heart. Last night was amazing. When can I see you again? Asterisk. Sarah's hands trembled as she stared at the screen. Her mind raced, trying to make sense of it. Was this a mistake? A misunderstanding? She opened the chat, her heart sinking with every word she read. Messages stretching back months. Flirty exchanges, late-night plans, and words that cut deeper than any knife. Daniel had been cheating on her. For months. Asterisk. She confronted him that night, her voice shaking with anger and pain. Daniel didn't deny it. He apologized, swore it was a mistake, blamed the stress of work, and begged for forgiveness. It was nothing, he said. You're the one I love. Sarah, heartbroken but desperate to save their marriage, agreed to give him another chance. She believed in second chances. She believed in him, but some promises are made to be broken. Fast forward 2 years. Sarah and Daniel were still together, working through the cracks in their marriage. Therapy, long talks, and promises to rebuild trust. Sarah thought they were healing. She thought they were stronger. But Daniel had other plans. Plans that would push Sarah to the edge and spark a revenge that no one saw coming. Asterisk. What did Sarah discover that shattered her trust all over again? And how did she turn her pain into a plan so brilliant it left Daniel speechless? Stay with me, because this story is just getting started. Asterisk. Sarah had always been the kind of woman who believed in love. Growing up in a small town, she'd watched her parents' marriage weather storms, arguments, financial struggles, and the chaos of raising 3 kids. They always came out stronger. That's what love was to Sarah, a commitment to fight for, no matter what. So when Daniel's first betrayal came, she fought. She fought for their marriage, for the life they'd built, for the promises they'd made. Asterisk. The months after the affair were brutal. Sarah couldn't sleep, haunted by the image of those messages on Daniel's tablet. Every time he left for work, a knot formed in her stomach. Was he really at a meeting? Was he lying again? But Daniel seemed remorseful. He went to therapy with her, answered her questions, and promised to be transparent. He even gave her access to his phone, though Sarah rarely checked it. She wanted to trust him. She needed to. Asterisk. Slowly, things started to feel normal again. They laughed together, planned a future, even talked about starting a family. Sarah began to believe they'd made it through the worst. She started to let her guard down. Asterisk. But trust, once broken, is fragile. And Daniel was about to shatter it all over again. Asterisk. Music shifts to a subtle, ominous tone. Asterisk. It was a Tuesday evening when the second betrayal came to light. Sarah had been working on a big project for a new client, staying late at the office to meet a deadline. She was exhausted but proud of her work, excited to share the news with Daniel. She texted him, saying she'd be home soon, but he didn't respond. That wasn't unusual. He often got caught up in work himself. But when she got home, the apartment was empty. No message, just silence. Asterisk. Sarah tried calling him, but his phone went straight to voicemail. She told herself not to panic. Maybe he was stuck in traffic, or his phone died. But as the hours ticked by, that familiar knot in her stomach grew tighter. By midnight, she was pacing the living room, her mind spiraling with worst-case scenarios. Asterisk. Then, at 1 a.m., she got a call. Not from Daniel, but from a mutual friend, Lisa. Sarah, you need to know something, Lisa said, her voice trembling. I saw Daniel tonight, at a bar downtown. He wasn't alone. Asterisk. Sarah's heart dropped. What do you mean, he wasn't alone? Asterisk. Lisa hesitated, then said the words that would change everything. He was with Emily, the same Emily from before. Asterisk. Sarah felt like the ground had been pulled out from under her. Emily, the name that had haunted her for years. The woman Daniel swore he'd cut out of his life. The affair he promised was over. Sarah's hands shook as she thanked Lisa and hung up. She sat on the couch, staring at the wall, her mind racing. Asterisk, was it true? Could Daniel really betray her again after everything they'd been through? She didn't want to believe it, but deep down she knew. The late nights, the unanswered texts, the way he'd been distant lately, it all made sense now. Asterisk, Sarah didn't cry. Not this time. Instead, something else stirred inside her. Anger, determination, a fire she hadn't felt before. She wasn't going to let Daniel break her again. This time she would fight back, not with tears, but with a plan. A plan to make him feel the weight of his betrayal. A plan to take back her power. Asterisk, what was Sarah's next move? How do you confront a man who's lied to you twice? And what kind of revenge could leave someone like Daniel completely speechless? Keep listening, because Sarah's story is about to take a turn you won't see coming. Asterisk, the next morning, Sarah woke up with a clarity she hadn't felt in years. The pain was still there, raw and heavy, but it was overshadowed by something stronger. Resolve. She wasn't going to let Daniel's betrayal define her. She wasn't going to be the victim again. This time, she would take control. Asterisk, but first, she needed proof. Sarah wasn't about to confront Daniel without knowing the full truth. She wasn't going to let him lie his way out of this one. So she started digging. Asterisk, she began with his phone. Daniel was still asleep when she slipped into the bedroom and grabbed it from the nightstand. Her heart pounded as she unlocked it. Thankfully, he hadn't changed the passcode. She scrolled through his messages, her stomach churning with every word. There it was, a thread with Emily, dinner plans, flirty emojis, and a message from just last night. Can't wait to see you again. Asterisk, Sarah's hands trembled, but she kept going. She checked his emails, his calendar, even his social media. The evidence was overwhelming. Daniel had been seeing Emily for months, sneaking around behind Sarah's back, lying to her face while she poured her heart into rebuilding their marriage. Asterisk, but the worst part? He wasn't just cheating. He was planning to leave her. Sarah found an email to a realtor discussing a new apartment, another to his lawyer asking about divorce proceedings. Daniel wasn't just betraying her, he was plotting to walk away without a word, leaving her to pick up the pieces. Asterisk, Sarah sat back, her mind spinning. The man she'd loved, the man she'd fought for, was ready to throw her away like she meant nothing. The betrayal cut deeper than ever, but it also lit a spark. Sarah wasn't going to let him get away with it. Not this time. Asterisk, she spent the next few days acting like nothing was wrong. She smiled at Daniel, cooked dinner, even laughed at his jokes. But behind her calm exterior, she was planning. She wasn't going to scream or cry or beg him to stay. That's what he expected. Instead, she was going to hit him where it hurt most. His pride, his reputation, his carefully crafted image. Sarah started gathering more evidence. She reached out to Lisa, who'd seen Daniel at the bar, and asked for details. Lisa revealed that Emily wasn't just a fling she worked with Daniel, a colleague he'd been cozying up to for months. Sarah even found photos on Emily's social media, subtle but unmistakable, Daniel's arm around her, the two of them laughing at a company event. Asterisk, but Sarah didn't stop there. She contacted a private investigator, a woman named Claire who specialized in discrete cases. Claire was expensive, but Sarah didn't care. She needed the truth, and she needed it fast. Claire promised to follow Daniel and document everything. Asterisk, over the next 2 weeks, Claire delivered. Photos of Daniel and Emily at restaurants, holding hands in a park, even slipping into a hotel together. Each image was like a dagger to Sarah's heart, but it also fueled her determination. She wasn't just building a case, she was building a plan. A plan to expose Daniel in a way he'd never recover from, Asterisk, what was Sarah planning? How do you take down someone who's betrayed you so deeply? And what kind of revenge could leave a man like Daniel completely speechless? Stay with me, because the pieces are falling into place, and Sarah's comeback is about to shake everything up. Asterisk, Sarah's heart was heavy, but her mind was sharp. Every piece of evidence she collected, every photo, every message, every lie strengthened her resolve. She wasn't just hurt, she was angry. Angry at Daniel for his betrayal, angry at herself for believing his lies, and angry at the life she thought they'd built together. But anger can be a powerful motivator, and Sarah was about to channel it into something extraordinary. Asterisk, one evening, as she sat alone in their apartment, Sarah made a decision. She wasn't going to confront Daniel in private. She wasn't going to give him the chance to lie or manipulate his way out of it. No, this time she was going to make sure everyone saw him for who he really was. His friends, his family, his colleagues, everyone who thought Daniel was the perfect husband, the charming guy with the perfect life. Asterisk, Sarah's plan was bold, risky, and meticulously thought out. She wasn't going to destroy Daniel with violence or cruelty. That wasn't her style. She was going to destroy his facade, expose his lies, and let the truth do the rest. But to pull it off, she needed help. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. She reached out to Lisa, her friend who tipped her off about Daniel's night at the bar. Lisa was horrified by what Sarah had uncovered and eager to help. Together, they brainstormed ideas, each one more daring than the last. But Sarah knew she had to be smart. Daniel was clever, and he'd always been good at talking his way out of trouble. She needed a plan that left no room for excuses. Asterisk. That's when Claire, the private investigator, suggested something unexpected. Why not use his own world against him? She said, Daniel was obsessed with his reputation at work. He was the golden boy of his marketing firm, always charming clients, always the life of the company events. If Sarah could expose him in front of his colleagues, it would hit him where it hurt most. Asterisk, Sarah's eyes lit up. It was perfect. Daniel's annual company gala was coming up, a big event where the entire firm, along with clients and partners, would be in attendance. It was the kind of night where Daniel thrived, schmoozing and networking, building his image as the perfect professional. Sarah was going to turn his moment of glory into his moment of truth. Asterisk, she spent weeks preparing. Claire helped her compile a presentation, a slideshow of all the evidence, the messages, the photos, the emails. Sarah wasn't going to just tell people about Daniel's betrayal. She was going to show them. But she had to be careful. She didn't want to humiliate herself or come across as vindictive. She wanted the truth to speak for itself. Asterisk, Sarah worked with Lisa to get access to the gala's AV system. Lisa had a friend who worked in the firm's event planning team, and with a little convincing, they secured a spot for Sarah to present during the event. Daniel had no idea what was coming. He thought Sarah was just attending as his supportive wife, smiling by his side as he worked the room. Asterisk, the night of the gala approached, and Sarah's nerves were on edge. She knew this was her one shot. If she pulled it off, Daniel's lies would be exposed and he'd face the consequences. If she failed, she risked looking like the bad guy. But Sarah was done playing the victim. She was ready to take back her power. Asterisk, what happened at the gala? How did Sarah pull off her revenge? And what moment left Daniel completely speechless? You're not going to want to miss this, because the climax of Sarah's story is about to unfold. Asterisk, the night of the company gala was electric. The venue was a sleek downtown hotel, its ballroom filled with glittering lights, clinking glasses, and the hum of conversation. Daniel was in his element, shaking hands, flashing his charming smile, and introducing Sarah as his beautiful wife to anyone who'd listen. Sarah played her part perfectly, smiling and nodding, but inside her heart was racing. Tonight was the night. Asterisk, she wore a stunning red dress, one that made her feel powerful, like she could take on the world. Daniel didn't notice the fire in her eyes, the way her smile didn't quite reach them. He was too busy basking in the attention, unaware that Sarah had a plan that would turn his world upside down. Asterisk. The gala was in full swing when the MC announced a special presentation. A tribute to our team's hard work, he said, gesturing to the large screen at the front of the room. Daniel, standing near the bar, raised his glass and cheered, oblivious to what was coming. Sarah took a deep breath, her heart pounding as she stepped toward the stage. Asterisk, the lights dimmed, and the screen lit up. The first slide was innocent enough, a photo of the company's latest campaign, one Daniel had led. The room clapped politely. But then the slides changed. A screenshot of a text message appeared, Daniel's name clear as day. "I can't stop thinking about you, Emily." Asterisk, the room went silent. Daniel's smile froze. Sarah's voice, calm but firm, filled the room through the microphone. "I thought it was time everyone knew the real Daniel," she said. "The man who promises loyalty but breaks it. The man who lies to the people who trust him most." Asterisk, slide after slide appeared. Messages, photos, emails. The evidence was undeniable. Whispers spread through the crowd. Daniel's colleagues exchanged shocked glances. Emily, who was in the room, turned pale and slipped toward the exit. Daniel stood rooted to the spot, his face a mix of panic and disbelief. Asterisk, Sarah kept her composure, her voice steady. "This isn't about revenge," she said, though her heart screamed otherwise. "This is about truth, about holding people accountable, about refusing to let lies destroy lives." Asterisk, the room erupted in murmurs. Daniel's boss, a stern woman named Margaret, stepped forward, her face like stone. "Daniel, my office." "Monday morning," she said, her voice cutting through the tension. Asterisk, Daniel tried to speak, to explain, but no one was listening. His carefully crafted image, his charm, his success was crumbling before his eyes. Sarah stepped off the stage, her head held high, as the room buzzed with shock and whispers. Asterisk, she didn't stay to see the fallout. She didn't need to. She'd done what she came to do. As she walked out of the gala, her red dress catching the light, Sarah felt something she hadn't felt in years. Freedom. Asterisk, but what happened to Daniel after that night? And how did Sarah's life change after her bold stand? Stay with me because this story isn't over yet. Asterisk, the days after the gala were a whirlwind. Daniel's world unraveled faster than he could have imagined. His colleagues, once his biggest fans, distanced themselves. His boss, Margaret, didn't just call him into her office. She suspended him pending an investigation into his conduct. The photos of him with Emily, a coworker, raised questions about workplace ethics. His reputation, the thing he valued most, was in tatters. Asterisk, Emily, too, faced consequences. She left the company quietly, unable to face the scrutiny. Daniel tried to reach out to Sarah, leaving voicemails and texts begging for forgiveness, but she didn't respond. She'd said everything she needed to say at the gala. Asterisk, Sarah, meanwhile, was rebuilding. She moved out of their apartment, staying with Lisa while she figured out her next steps. The pain of Daniel's betrayal still lingered, but exposing him had given her a sense of closure. She wasn't just a victim anymore, she was a woman who'd taken back her power. Asterisk, word of the gala spread like wildfire. Friends, family, even strangers reached out to Sarah, praising her courage. Some called her a hero, others a force of nature. But Sarah didn't feel like either. She felt human hurt, but healing. Asterisk, she started therapy again, this time on her own, to process the years of trust and betrayal. She threw herself into her work, landing new clients and rediscovering her passion for design. And slowly, she began to dream again, not of the life she'd lost, but of the one she could build. Asterisk, asterisk, In the months that followed, Sarah rebuilt herself piece by piece. She moved into a new apartment, a small but cozy space filled with her artwork and plants. She reconnected with old friends, people she'd drifted from during her marriage. And she started to date again, not because she needed someone, but because she was ready to open her heart. Asterisk, she also became an inspiration to others. Her story, shared through whispers and social media, reached women who'd faced their own betrayals. Sarah wasn't trying to be a hero, but her courage gave others permission to stand up for themselves. She even started a small blog, writing about her journey, not to dwell on the past, but to help others find their own strength. Asterisk. As for Daniel, he never recovered his golden boy status. He left the company a few months later, moving to a new city to start over. But the story of his betrayal followed him, a shadow he couldn't escape. He tried to rebuild, but the weight of his actions was too heavy. Asterisk, Sarah didn't gloat. That wasn't who she was. But she felt a quiet satisfaction knowing that the truth had consequences. Daniel's lies had caught up with him, and she'd been the one to shine a light on them. Asterisk, what lessons can we learn from Sarah's story? And how did her revenge change not just her life, but the lives of those around her? Let's wrap this up with a reflection on what it all means. Asterisk, Sarah's story isn't just about revenge. It's about resilience, about finding strength in the face of betrayal, about refusing to let someone else's lies define your worth. When Sarah walked out of that gala, she wasn't just leaving Daniel behind, she was stepping into a new chapter of her life. Asterisk, in the months that followed, Sarah rebuilt herself piece by piece. She moved into a new apartment, a small but cozy space filled with her artwork and plants. She reconnected with old friends, people she drifted from during her marriage. And she started to date again, not because she needed someone, but because she was ready to open her heart. Asterisk, she also became an inspiration to others. Her story, shared through whispers and social media, reached women who'd faced their own betrayals. Sarah wasn't trying to be a hero, but her courage gave others permission to stand up for themselves. She even started a small blog, writing about her journey, not to dwell on the past, but to help others find their own strength. Asterisk, Daniel's fate was a reminder that actions have consequences. He'd built his life on charm and lies, but when the truth came out, it all fell apart. Sarah didn't need to destroy him, she just needed to expose him. The rest took care of itself. Asterisk, and that's the moral of the story. Revenge doesn't always mean destruction. Sometimes it means truth. Sometimes it means taking back your power, not by tearing someone else down, but by lifting yourself up. Sarah's revenge wasn't about hurting Daniel, it was about freeing herself. Asterisk. So, what can we take from Sarah's journey? Betrayal hurts, but it doesn't have to define you. Trust can be broken, but it can also be rebuilt, not in others, but in yourself. Sarah learned that her worth wasn't tied to Daniel's promises or his lies. It was in her strength, her courage, and her ability to rise again. Asterisk, if you've ever been betrayed, let Sarah's story remind you, you are not your pain. You are not your past. You are the choices you make, the steps you take, and the life you build from the ashes. Sarah's revenge left Daniel speechless, but it gave her a voice, one that echoed far beyond that gala night. Asterisk, thank you for listening to Sarah's story. If it moved you, if it sparked something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And let us know in the comments, what would you have done in Sarah's shoes? Until next time, stay strong, stay true, and never let anyone dim your light.